Hello, Jerkologists,
and welcome to the world of Wyrmspan. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Andrew, and this is Board Game Latte.
Today, we are going to be reviewing the game Wyrmspan by Stonemaier Games,
where dragons of all shapes, sizes, and colors roam the skies.
Wyrmspan is 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and 90 minutes of playtime.
Huge shout out to Get Your Fun On for lending us this early release demo copy of Wyrmspan. I believe the game releases in March. We already put in a pre-order for that with the deluxe components bundled, so super excited for that. So the first thing I want to talk about are the components. Of course, everybody looks at them and sees the dragon eggs, and I think they look great and they feel great. There's even detail put into the dragon eggs themselves with the spackle and the color, the art that goes with the artwork. I think it blends really well and makes it really rewarding when you get to lay an egg in the game. There are golden eggs, I believe, being sold on their website, but I don't know. I think I really like the different colored eggs.
Yeah, I like the colored eggs because I feel like I always, whenever I play, we played a total of one time and then trying out the components and stuff. So 1.1 times. I like to kind of choose the different color eggs that they have because there's a wide variety. You have red, blue, purple, green, white, a baby blue color. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of like to decorate my board because one thing I really do enjoy is the artwork on this game. I love watercolor personally, and I really like all the detail and all the thought that went into each of the dragons.
The dragon coins, or silver coins, I believe, have detail on them to make them look like dragon wings, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
They're actually punch board, but really good punch board at that, and they look like actual silver. So
yeah, I like the metallic finish that they have on it and how it's really nice. Reversible.
Yeah, it's reversible. But when you're grabbing for them, they definitely add to the dragon feel of the game. But it's not the traditional high fantasy dragon feel that some players are looking for. That, D&D, right? The biggest tabletop game. I don't know if that's still true. Pathfinder. But we'll talk about that later. It's not the traditional dragon feel of a game.
Yeah, it has more of an ethereal type vibe to it, where it's kind of more, I guess you can say, harmony kind of type, where it's kind of just you're in the sky soaring peacefully instead of on the ground and fighting and battling and fire everywhere. It's more of peaceful and relaxing.
Yes, and you get to collect these dragons with their different traits and their different names, and it even comes with I forget what it's called, a dragon fact book,
which I thought was really cute.
Yeah, so you get to appreciate this Wyrmspan world that doesn't really exist in other fantasy games. So
yeah,
something they made completely separate on their own idea of a dragon world. So I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So this was my first time fully playing the game. I personally have never played Wyrmspan before because I recently just got into board games. So all of this was pretty new for me. I was told that the components from Wyrmspan to Wyrmspan are a little similar. Wyrmspan does have some different mechanics, just like the Dragon's Guild. I don't believe there's anything like that in Wyrmspan. And I do enjoy this game. I do find that for me personally, I wasn't able to collect resources as well as the other players in our game. At the end of the game, I ended up with only 1 milk when another player ended up with about 16 different resources left over.
Yeah, I think, so we played with 3 players, and between the 3 of us, I think we all had different strategies going. Our friend Vince had more of a cached resources strategy.
Yeah.
And then Alexis was just getting dragons left and right. And
Yeah.
I was so jealous.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of dragons. I honestly had each round ending, I had about 6 dragons in my hand. And honestly, I didn't have that many cave cards because I had this one dragon where you can pretty much get rid of a cave card and then you draw 3 cards, you pick one, you discard one, and then you tuck one. And then at the end of the game, those tucked dragons end up being more points.
Yep. They actually, you could overlook it since they are only 1 point value, but caching and tucking resources and dragon cards does really add up. So I played towards the different objective tiles that are on the round tracker board, and I started off really strong, but I eventually fell off when my I'd say my engine wasn't really built so that when I take the explore action, I'm getting the most value out of exploring from either of my caves. So when you're playing this game, what you'll do on your turn is take one of 3 actions, and the 3 actions are excavate, entice, and explore. Excavate, you'll be placing cave cards to expand your cave, right? Where you can eventually entice a dragon and play dragon cards on top of, so that you can explore, gain benefits as you're going through the different caves, and maybe not from exploring a cave with a dragon in it. There are different benefits on these cards. Some activate when you play them down, some activate when you explore that card, some activate once per round, and others activate, I think there's a 4th time, endgame, yeah. So you're trying to collect these cards, and you need resources to do so. You have coins, which you get 6 every round.
Each round.
And coins are basically like action points. I'm hesitant to say, but really for every action you take, it costs at least 1 coin, unless there's some ability that lets you play it for free.
Yeah, or sometimes dragons cost coins too.
Yeah, so that would be 2 coins.
Actions, if you want to consider that, and just purchasing a dragon, because it does cost 1 coin to entice, plus whatever the cost is on the dragon card. Personally, for me, with what you were talking about earlier, the Explorer, I found myself mostly going into the Crimson Cavern, just because that first option is you gain a resource, because none of my dragons that I had were resource driven, so I didn't get any sort of bonus or anything if you landed on them. I know some did, just none of mine. And then same thing with my cave kind of cards. Sometimes you place them down, you immediately get any sort of resource. Mine was normally pick more dragon cards, so I was kind of like, oh man.
There are 3 different caves. She kind of mentioned the first, which is the Crimson Cavern. There's the Golden Grotto and
the Amethyst Abyss.
Yes. And it's like a pinkish red, a yellowish, orange, goldish color, and a purple. And really, the red one is more for resource gathering when you explore.
Yeah.
And the yellow one is more for dragons, and the purple one is more for caves and helps you excavate more. But a really cool thing is how different dragons have to be placed into different habitats, and then also based on their traits, they could interact and earn you more victory points if you're trying to collect a certain trait. It could be one of the objective tiles you're working towards. It could be just straight up an ability on the dragon card that lets you gain more victory points for having like maybe 4 small dragons or 4 hatchlings or anything you can think of, really. There's also a dragon guild board, so as we explained the exploring mechanic, you will move from left to right throughout the cave and gain either what we said was resources, dragons, or cave cards. You'll also gain dragon guild advancements, which lets you move this token around a track that gives you an immediate benefit or bonus, and then halfway through you get to place one of your other tokens on the dragon guild and getting a unique ability or unique benefit from that specific guild. So there's 8 different dragon guild tiles, and you pick one at random for each game. So we played with the Rainforest Guild, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't take a look at the other 7, but I'm curious to know now.
Setup for this game was relatively easy, I would say. You just have your player boards, you have your dragon guild, you just have like your player tracker, and then you have a board that's already there for your dragon cards and your cave cards, and then you just have like your cards on the side for the dragon cards and the cave cards that you would draw from, and then just your eggs and then your tokens. We just put ours in like a little container and stuff, so it wasn't everywhere. I mean, setup probably took like 5 minutes, not even.
Yeah.
So really quick setup, which was good.
One thing is that most of your game will be played on your own personal player board.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of other player interaction, so anything you do doesn't really conflict with other players. The only thing I can think of is if somebody was eyeing a card in the card display, and you happen to snag it before they do.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're kind of playing your own game, and I think that's really cool for the Automa Factory. I'm not sure how the AI plays, but I could see this being pretty fun to play solo. And the player mats, they're actually kind of big and do take up a lot of the table space. The Dragon Guild tile and the round tracker tile and the Dragon display, it's really a small part.
Yeah.
We have a 3 by 6 foot table, and I'd say the player mats going across the table reach from end to end, filling it up. Other than that, setup was really easy and pretty simple.
For the gameplay for me, I would say one thing that I had to keep track of, but I totally didn't realize it until a little more towards the end, I would say, is one, your coins. One of my last moves I was gonna do, I was like, yeah, I got everything, I got all my resources. Totally forgot that my dragon also needed a coin when I only had 1 coin left. So I had to completely rethink my gameplay. And put out a dragon I didn't want to put out last second just so I could still get one down. So one thing on the dragon cards is that they do have little symbols on the left side that you do have to pay attention to. So they have either like the adventure symbol, where when your player explores over it is when that gets triggered. They also have the end of round, where it gets triggered at the end of the full round. It looks like a little clock. They also have right when you place them down. And then also the end game, it just has like a little tail, I guess you can call it, with like the point value and stuff in there. And I noticed for like one of them, for me at least, because it was my last second one that I had to just play down, and I just played it down and then just played it immediately because I thought the symbol was the one where you place it down and play it. Ended up being the one where you just like have to explore it to play that card. So I would say just be cautious of that, because that is something that's really easy to just look over.
You definitely want to lean towards building in the Crimson Cavern and the Golden Grotto first. Excavating isn't as rewarding. It allows you to do those 2 other things, entice and explore in those areas. So you definitely need to do it, but it gives normally a small one-time benefit. Rather than when you play dragons and you do have that adventure symbol on it, you're getting a bonus every time you explore that dragon. And a lot of times dragons have more rewards when you're collecting a certain type of dragon because of another endgame objective or endgame ability on another dragon. If I were to replay this, I would probably build out my Crimson Cavern more and focus more in that area.
Yeah.
I felt very resource constrained in dragons, and because I hadn't built my Golden Grotto until like the second round even. So definitely get the excavation out of the way. Overall experience and feel was pretty good. It was pretty light and enjoyable, mostly because there wasn't that direct conflict and competition. Yes, you still want to win, but you're not doing anything where you're making somebody else feel bad. There's no like take that mechanism or anything. So that was really nice and refreshing, especially after a long day at work and whatnot. You just want to come home and play a board game with your significant other or friends, right?
So I personally feel like this game is pretty simple once you just kind of keep an eye out for certain things. I would say the first playthrough might just take a little bit just by double checking the rules, making sure what you're doing is right. We did have to do that quite a few times with just verifying everything because some things just made sense in our heads, but then it was like when we looked at our board, we were like, no, there's no way that's right.
There was one rule that I couldn't seem to find in the rule book anywhere, but if you're coming from Wyrmspan, it makes sense. But do you replace the cards in the display after somebody gains that, or is it just refresh at the end of the round? I didn't see any clarification on that in the rule book. I probably just breezed over it, honestly. But our friend who had played Wyrmspan said it's supposed to get replenished after somebody takes a card from there. That was the only rule clarification I had. Although I did think the Dragon fact book was really cool, I think they could have done a rule clarification book. I mean, the iconology was done really well and it was pretty easy to understand left to right. I liked how the player reference was built into your player mat, so it was there as a reminder on how you would take your turn, the actions available.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was done really well, really simple, and I would recommend to any medium light gamers.
Yeah. I would definitely say if you're like introducing this to your friends who recently just started playing board games or anything like that, I wouldn't have this be the first game they would play. I would definitely have it be maybe like the 5th board game they played once they started kind of getting used to the different mechanics and everything like that within board games. But I really did enjoy this game overall. I definitely would play it again. As of a top list for 2024, not sure yet. I mean, we still have a lot of new games that are coming out this year.
Yes.
A lot of them are waiting to get shipped off of Kickstarter.
I've backed so Marvel Dice or X-Men Dice Throne.
Yeah.
I've backed Kingdoms Forlorn. I don't know how some people feel about that. And I've backed
Wyrmspan.
well, like pre-ordered Wyrmspan.
Oh,
It wasn't
yeah.
a Kickstarter release. And I backed White Death, Zombicide White Death.
Yeah.
And what else do we have coming? There's one more, Primal the Awakening. So
Yeah. So we still have a few coming in, and the one thing I really do enjoy also about our local game store, Get Your Fun On, is they do have a whole back wall that, because they back Kickstarters too.
Mhm.
So whenever we see a really interesting game like on that back wall, we immediately buy it. We just bought one literally 2 days ago, so excited to play that too. But I do really enjoy this game a lot. I would say that it is a lot of fun. I really do enjoy the artwork a lot. I really have a thing for good artwork. And honestly, with Stonemaier Games, I really do enjoy just kind of how they do go into depth with certain rules and stuff. Personally, I do wish they went more in depth like they did in Apiary with certain mechanics, just because I personally haven't played Wyrmspan before. So our friend did have to explain more to us. But overall, I would say this was a fun game and I would play it again.
I really appreciate the thought that went into this game. Even though it might not be what people expect out of a dragon game, it's still really cool. The artwork's great, and I think anyone would enjoy playing this with a good group of friends.
Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of Wyrmspan.
And what board games you would like to see next.
See you in the next one.